dualism dissolves, it dissolves into non-dual, not two. Non-dual is not two, but it's not one, it's not both, and it's not neither. Wait, trying to track it. Ken gave me that. I'm just ripping shit off from the spiritual teachers. I'm acting like I know what I'm talking about. I don't. Done a lot of practice and reading and verifying reports and teachers. And hey, Ken, I had this experience. Hey, Gembo, what is that? And kind of anchor you. Oh, that's a classic, this. Sophia Diaz, you guys know of her? No, okay. She's the best at checking your craziest experiences with. She's like, oh, yeah, that's this crazy Indian tradition from 5,000 years ago. That's what that was. Demon god thing. I'm like, sweet. It helps kind of anchor on the path, right? It's like a map. It's not dual. That's content. It's not two. It's not one. It's not both. It's not neither. It's the paradoxical nature of it. It's undefinable. It's unqualifiable. It's radical suchness. It's radical isness. It's the inseparability, even non-separability of all that's arising. So when the witness, final subject, dissolves into all that's witnessed, and all that's left is God. So, spiritual path takes you all the way up to that point. Then, as if that weren't enough, we got 15 minutes left. I'm going to cover some of this tomorrow, but I'll take this to the end. Apologize in advance if I go quick on a few of these. Involution and evolution. Okay, we're switching gears a little bit. Let me frame this up. We're now heading into the idea of presence and perspective as two paths of human development. Okay? One's about waking up. That's the one about states. Development through what we just saw, that little spectrum called state stages. The other one, the path, is about growing up. Growing up, literally like a kid growing up. Vertical development, structural development, not stopping it at all, but growing beyond it. So vertical development through structures, horizontal development through states, waking up and growing up. Both of those spectrums, both of those paths, okay, can be understood at 4 levels of scale. Let's just pick 4. You can pick 7 or 8, but 4. Okay. First is at this big, grand cosmological scale of involution and evolution of like, wait, what happened before the Big Bang? Like scientists are actually researching this. It's totally crazy. Spirituality has dabbled in it as well. What happened before the Big Bang and what's happened since? This involution, bang, evolution of the cosmos from tiny little particles up to us self-reflexive beings. Involution and evolution is also happening. This transcendent include, if you will, is happening at the species level. Culturally, human beings have developed. It can be looked at, investigated, again, involution and evolution, these two movements, in-breath and out-breath. Are you guys familiar with those terms? I'm kind of just throwing them out there, involution and evolution, I'm sure you're aware of.
I'm sure about involution.
Okay. I'm getting better at stopping myself when I see the faces of like, I'm learning. God, involution, that's a hard thing to define. Let's use the breath. The in-breath, down in front of your body, letting it cool, down in your dantian or your hara, and then out-breath back up the spine, right? That process, that microcosmic orbit, if you're in the Qigong, right, is metaphor for this final moment-to-moment of involution and evolution. So one way we can define involution is it is the in-breath. It's the bringing, the descent from light into life. That's a metaphor through your traditions. Look at every tradition, they all have that metaphor somewhere. It's the descent of God, of spirit, of a Brahman. Pick your favorite spirit, deity name. Light into life. All the way down to the matter. The in-breath. Think about it. Literally bringing life into your body. this is at the moment-to-moment scale now. So the cosmos level, involution is literally what happened before the Big Bang. What was the universe's in-breath that led to the big exhale, Big Bang? I have no answer to that one, but it's the same thing. I mean, something happened, right? Maybe not, I don't know. At the individual level, just as one more example, is think of reincarnation. Involution is the in-breath from death, if you believe in this version of it, from death to rebirth. It's a laying down of, or recapitulating of, your sort of individual constitution from death to, you know, a new vehicle. In rebirth, when you get reborn, if that happens, you start to evolve again from an infant. So that's involution and evolution at the individual level. At the species level, involution again starts to approach kind of the cosmos, and if we say your entire species go extinct, and say humans, say we kill ourselves at some point, right? We've done a lot of work over the past 50,000 years, laying down what are called cosmic grooves, developmental grooves, right? From infrared, which was like archaic, basic, fundamental survival instinct sort of levels of development, all the way up to these massively complex levels of development that, you know, we find in the great pioneers of development in the present day. It's a lot of evolutionary work, that's the evolution side, right? To get there as a species. If we die entirely, what happens to those cosmic groups is the question. Is there any influence that persists? If we come back as a species, or say another species takes our place over time, are they going to have to re-evolve their own set of stages? Or do the stages that human species have laid down have some effect? Whatever's happening between that place, those questions, that's involution at the species level. Again, I don't think there's any scientific evidence to answer those questions. That would be the correlate at that level of scale. But again, we're looking at the moment to moment, which again, the best metaphor is the breath. Another way of saying this, just to kind of anchor it, for those of you who like vocabulary words, or may have heard these things. This is to say that it says microgeny, moment-to-moment unfolding of our experience, recapitulates ontogeny, which is the developmental unfolding of our own individual lives. So it's Jesse's developmental history and future trajectory. Recapitulates. Recapitulate meaning it's following the same pattern. Right? Recapitulates phylogeny, which is saying that the levels of individual development are recapitulations, basically, of the levels of development that our past cultural species has gone through. And that recapitulates cosmogeny, which would be evolution in its grandest, most universal sense. So there's a lot of patterns that get recapitulated, which we could look into. Transcend and include was mentioned before. That's one of them, where it says the next higher level both transcends, moves beyond, but also includes the previous level, or some capacity from the previous level. Right? The examples here with individuals would be when you develop the ability to speak, with words, you don't lose your ability to understand symbols, developmental. It's included, it's brought up. Other patterns that get recapitulated, you may be familiar with, is the subject, okay, at one level, the current level, becomes the object of the subject at the next higher level. You guys heard that one? Meaning, as you develop, that which you called I today is going to be looked at as me tomorrow by a new I. That's cool, huh? Well, more about that in the perspective taking stuff. I mean, it's like the very nature